guys.
Yay, I did it. I had to
I'm
re-register.
sorry, I just signed on. I'm sorry. So now what I'm going to do is making you a co-host,
Okay.
Need to re-register.
right?
Yep.
Do you want me to enable waiting room?
Yeah, please just. Yeah, there we go. Hi, Brianna. So yeah, so I want to do just share everybody's screen so that people can just do share screen.
You went for a while?
Yeah.
How long?
Till about 9.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Hi,
So-
Brianna. I don't think I know you. I'm Stephanie Radin. I work
Hey,
with.
Stephanie.
Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to
Hey,
meet you.
Jennifer.
So if I want to,
Room.
yeah, multiple participants can share screen simultaneously. There we go. That's all I have to do. You're done. We're good.
I'm happy to try to share my screen just because.
Go right ahead. Go right
Okay.
ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. It looks like I need to open it up in a different way. So this is kind of what I wanted to do because we were doing it on SharePoint and now I got to download it. All right, let me do that. I'll be
Okay.
right back.
All right. I still see you. You're still there, just so you know that.
Jen, as long as you're co-host, I'm going to go to the bathroom and then I'm going to leave the meeting for a minute just to sign on to the Master Gardener meeting and say hello, and then I'll be back. It should be okay.
You're fine.
Right?
Whatever.
Okay.
Whatever. We're good.
Right. Go eat your food, please.
There you go.
All right, I think I did it. I also wanted to let you know I have that resource document.
I'm going to disable the waiting room.
Yeah, disable the waiting room. See if that
Okay.
works.
See
Yeah.
if that works.
All right, I just asked her to try now, so.
Oh, it's on lock meeting. Somehow it was on lock meeting. That's why. Don't ask me how that happened. I apologize.
Sorry about that. There we go. There we go. Look at everybody that's in there. Yay.
Hi, Jen. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
Thank you.
Good.
Sorry, Marianne, we weren't trying to give you a complex by locking you
I
out.
thought I was getting the evening off.
And Owen was locked out too, so don't feel badly. It wasn't just you. Hi, Sarah. How are you? Good to see you again.
Hi there, good to see you.
Oh. Yay.
Oh, she, her, she, her.
There we go. Okay, so Owen's gonna try in a couple minutes, so it's Hey, hey.
I am gonna go grab my water and I will be right back.
All right, very good. I don't know if you got a little message, but we are recording now, so it should, I don't know if it said that when you popped in or not, but it is recording now, so be careful what you say. Excellent. So what I'm going to end up doing is requesting that everybody but the person who's speaking go off camera, because it does tend to take up a lot of bandwidth. It really just does, for whatever reason, depending on where you are. But I will ask, except for the speakers, to please go ahead and just turn off your camera. Love to see you all, but it really does, it takes up so much bandwidth. I think sometimes it really does affect, sometimes things get locked out. So I just want to make sure that we're all on board. So we're at 6:30. We'll give it another couple minutes, a minute or two, and then we'll get started.
Jennifer, you're taking the ability of my dog to make a cameo out of the equation.
My pug yesterday during the staff meeting got up in my lap and was snoring away. It was like,
I have the sound bite if you want it.
yeah, I know. So I recorded him. And he did it exactly. It came up in my memories. He did it exactly a year ago in a meeting. He woke himself up snoring. It was hilarious. He's busy playing with a toy and the other dogs are outside. So. Hi, Mark.
Hey, everybody.
Ariel, welcome.
How are you?
Good, and yourself?
Not bad.
Good, good, good.
Are you out in the snow, or is that just a
No.
really nice background?
It's my background. It's my backyard from last year.
I love that.
Thank you.
I wish we had as much snow, or we're gonna have as much snow this year as we had last year, but I doubt it. So
I'm fine if I don't have to clear a driveway. I really am. Oh, okay. So Owen's on phone. He's our phone person there. There we go. So Owen's here. Got it. All right. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get things started. And as people sign in, that's fine. Again, if you can, as few people as possible on video, only because I think sometimes it takes up so much bandwidth, unless you're speaking. And I think that's one of those things. And in the beginning, I think the speakers that are going, as you're introducing yourself, don't go on and off, just go ahead and stay on camera. And the same with muting yourself as well. I think that's an important thing to do. So that we don't get some of the background noises. I will mute myself so that when the dogs bark, you all won't hear it. So I'd like to welcome you to our 5th Ag Forum for Dutchess County. It was a farming in Dutchess County. So this is on food security. And of course, because we're working with the agricultural community, that's why food security is so very important, because our farmers provide a lot of that food to our residents here in Dutchess County, but there's also issues of how that happens. And so tonight's meeting is really to gather all of you to kind of, let's put a focus on what food security is, how we can help make things more food secure for people. And maybe I'm hoping that somebody will also bring up some of the terms like food sovereignty, which was a term that I had not heard before until a couple of weeks ago. And it was really very interesting to me. So I'm hoping that one of you will address that as well, at least briefly. So I'm going to turn it over to Marianne Johnson, who's going to introduce our speakers. Marianne's from the Hudson Valley Agribusiness Development Corporation. And I'll let her tell you all about what they do. And I'm going to go ahead and mute. If you have questions, please put them in the chat and I will go ahead and pull those out. I'm here, but I am going to turn my camera off and I'm going to let Marianne go for it and introduce our speakers tonight. Thanks, Marianne.
Thank you, Jen. It's good to see, or at least see your names, everyone. I am Marianne Johnson, and I am the Deputy Director of the Hudson Valley Agribusiness Development Corporation. We are a nonprofit that has been working in farm and food systems since 2007. We started doing business technical assistance and economic development for farms and farm-related businesses and farm-dependent businesses. And over the years, we have expanded to cover additional areas that make sense, looking at the food system from a holistic approach. And in 2018, we began to administer the Feed HV program, which we'll hear more about later this evening from my colleague, Brianna Merrill. And we really wanted to have this conversation to talk about food security, what it means, who's doing some of the great work in Dutchess County. We're joined here tonight by a terrific panel of folks who've been doing this work for quite some time. And we also wanted to put a little information in here about how farms have been engaging with our food access agencies. And we're gonna wrap up with a conversation and learn a little bit about the Hudson Valley Food System Coalition, of which I am a facilitator, and my good friend Sarah Salem is on, who's gonna talk about that later this evening. I wanted to just start off with, I will tell you who is joining us tonight, and then I'm going to have them do a little introduction about, who they are and what they've been doing, and then we're going to roll into some questions. So tonight we're joined by Liana Booth. She is the Food Industry Relations and Food Drive Coordinator with the Regional Food Bank of the Hudson Valley. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Regional Food Bank. We are joined by Jamie Lovato of Fairground, located in Beacon. I'm going to give a shout out to Jamie. She's the new executive director there. Congratulations. Jamie and I have done a lot of work in Farm to School, when she was with the Poughkeepsie Farm Project, and we did quite a bit of work in the city of Poughkeepsie schools. We're going to be hearing from Brianna Merrill. Again, she's my colleague at Hudson Valley Agribusiness. Brianna's going to explain to you all what Feed HV does and how it works. We have Sarah Salem, Director of Development and Strategic Initiatives at Dutchess Outreach. Dutchess Outreach is a long time, I think almost 50-year organization working in human services and community development in Poughkeepsie. We have Jordan Schmidt, who is the Food Program Director of the Northeast Community Center, also doing similar work, just in a different part of the county and handling some of our more rural areas. And finally, we are joined by Jung-il Sumagari, who is the new Executive Director at Red Hook Responds. And Red Hook Responds is a new organization that formed out of necessity from COVID. So we have a great panel tonight. We're very excited that all of you can join us. We appreciate working with Cornell Cooperative Extension and Jen Kimball and Dutchess County. I know, Owen, you're on the phone. Hello, Owen. And so I'm going to let Liana join in here. Liana, if you want to turn your camera on. Give us a few words.
Hi, everyone. I'm
you.
Leanna. Like Marianne said, I'm the Food Industry Relations and Food Drive Coordinator at the Food Bank of the Hudson Valley, which is a branch of the Regional Food Bank. So I work with anyone who is trying to coordinate a food drive for the food bank. And I also work with our food industry partners. So our farmers and our wholesalers. We have a separate person who works with donations from our retail stores. So at the food bank, we take in large donations of unmarketable but still edible food. And we distribute it to our 6 surrounding counties. So it's Orange, Dutchess, Rockland, Putnam, Ulster, and Sullivan. So we distribute to member agencies across those counties. So food pantries, soup kitchens, backpack programs, senior programs. I think we have about over 400 agencies to distribute to. I've been with the food bank for a little over a year now. And last year in 2020, we distributed 22 million pounds of food and grocery items to our 6 counties. I think 3.5 million of that going to Dutchess alone. So pretty good amount. I think that's it for me. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Leanna, and I apologize for mispronouncing your name. I apologize, folks. I was so eager to get started with our speakers. I want to take a step back and Jennifer, could you allow Brianna to share her screen? Thank you. Maybe we should start off with, and I do apologize, talking about what food security is. And you can see on the screen here, we have a definition from the World Health Organization, and it states when all people at all times have access to sufficient, safe, nutritious food to maintain a healthy and active life. Commonly, the concept of food security is defined as including both physical and economic access to food that meets people's dietary needs, as well as their food preferences. So that is sort of the foundation from which we are working. And this next slide here sort of elaborates on this concept of food security and notes that it is not sort of a single dimension. It is a combination of availability, access, utilization, and it occurs at a variety of levels, as you know, I'm sure you're all aware, ranging from the individual all the way up to it being a global challenge. And lastly, you see there are various components of quantity, quality, safety, and cultural acceptability. I'm going to leave this here because I'm sure some of the folks who are going to speak are going to address some of these issues as we continue to talk tonight. But I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood this is, it's a complex issue. It has a variety of components to it. And I think we should all sort of keep these in mind as we go through our discussion this evening. Thank you, Jennifer and Brianna. All right, I apologize for that. And we're now going to go to Jamie Lovato. I'm going to have Jamie, she can turn her camera on. Hey, Jamie, tell us a little bit about Fairground and your new role.
Thank you so much. So I am the brand new executive director of Fairground. And when I say brand new, it is actually my first day. So I have been getting acquainted with the work of this organization over the past few weeks, but officially my first day is today. So I'm just really excited that I get to end my first day in the new role, sharing with all of you and being here this evening. So Fairground is a food justice and anti-hunger organization located in Beacon, New York, and working on food security issues in Beacon, Newburgh, and Wappingers Falls. There are several different program areas, and all are about getting food out to the community with a focus on the types of food we just talked about in the food security presentation. So thinking about sufficient food, quality, nutritious food, and also culturally relevant food. So we do tiny food pantries, which you may or may not be familiar with, but they are like the little free libraries. So they are tiny, they are self-serve, and also community fridges. And there are 7 tiny food pantries, which are located around the 3 towns that I just mentioned. And right now we are operating 1 community fridge, and we are hoping to expand both of those. In the fridges, there can be produce meats, and really anything that can be refrigerated. And the tiny food pantries might have more shelf-stable items, but also some produce items that are a little less perishable, things that might hold up over a few days, not being in the refrigerator. We also do free marketplaces, and so these are food distributions that occur at apartment complexes, again, in the 3 towns. So again, that's Beacon, Newburgh, and Wappingers. And we give out a huge amount of produce along with meats, pantry staples, and other food categories, as well as sometimes personal care items as well. And those are done on a weekly basis, but usually with a rotation through several different housing complexes. Once a month, we do a large food distribution in partnership with the food bank, and that is occurring in Wappingers. We also have a partnership with the Dutchess County contact tracing program. So when there are Dutchess County residents who test positive for COVID and need to isolate, they contact us, and then we do home deliveries of food for folks who are not able to get out to get food. And then we do have another program that's currently on hiatus, but we are hoping to start up again at some point, and that is pop-up community meals. So those are free community meals where people can come and share food together, and folks can leave a donation if they want to. But right now that is not occurring, but we're hoping to again start that up at some point in the future. I think one of the things that we see as really vital to this work is building relationships with families, residents, and also other organizations in the local communities, and just looking to do more of this work and be able to get more food out to folks who would benefit from having access to it. And I'm going to end there for now. Turn it back over to Marianne.
Thank you, Jamie. I love that you brought up relationship building. I think that's part of what we hope to do tonight. I know that many of these organizations are familiar with the others, and that's, I think, critical in making sure that we can address the needs of all the folks that need some assistance. Next up, and we're kind of going in, a little bit of a geographic variety here order. We went from our regional food bank that was covering 6 counties, and we went down to Jamie's organization, Fairground, looking at, a few towns. Now we're going to go to Brianna Merrill. I think she also has some slides there. Excellent. And Brianna's going to talk about Feed HV.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm going to jump. Oh, you can't see me. Okay. I'm going to jump right in. Here, I'm Brianna Merrill. I'm programs coordinator at HVADC, and one of the programs I get to work on is Feed HV. So jumping in, if my slides will change. Here we go. All right, so how does it work? Probably the most complicated part of the process is sign up, which takes 7 minutes for donors or agencies, a little bit longer for volunteers because they have to complete a food safety survey. But basically, this is the process. Donors that have excess food can log on through feedhv.org, which utilizes the Chow Match application. They schedule a food run, which specifies the food that is available, as well as the timing that the pickup would have to occur. Chow Match uses that data to find a good match with an agency that's nearby that can accept that food and is open during those hours. An email blast goes out to volunteers, and a volunteer picks it up, and the food run more often than not go through without a hitch. Besides outlier cases, it's an extremely efficient and effective way for us to have an impact in the Hudson Valley. We have a 7-county region where we're doing this. We took a survey, some 94% of volunteers say that volunteering with us improves their mood. And for any farmers that are listening, we also can collect the data that can help you get the tax write-off for the amount of food that up to, I believe it's $2,000, might be $5,000, but for the amount of food that you donate. As a networking organization focused on agribusiness, we fill a number of like niches and needs for the community. Some other food rescue strategies that we implement are processing and gleaning. When we can get access to some funding, we were able to do pilot programs in a number of counties where we could pay for kitchen time and a chef to lead volunteers to make food either storable or meal ready for clients in those counties. We also, will get word from a farmer or another donor about excess abundant food, and we're able to connect them with gleaning organizations, our partners in, depending on what county they're in, a Long Table Harvest or Ulster Course or the Glean Mobile at a CCE Orange. There's a couple of other ways that we were able to have an impact, including redistributions. For example, if Red Hook Response has a lot of apples and everybody in Dutchess has apples, we're able to redistribute that to other agencies. There's also partners that entrust us with funding so that we can purchase food from local farms for local feeding agencies, which is like Scenic Hudson, which is an awesome opportunity. Most of the data, or all the data for food runs, is included in these metrics, but the redistribution data and the Scenic Hudson funded food isn't included here. But this does give you a decent snapshot of what we've been able to do since inception. A little bit under 400,000 pounds have been diverted from the landfill with the help of our volunteers and all the incredible donors and agencies that we work with. In Dutchess County specifically, since the program started, we've been able to deliver over 115,000 pounds directly to Dutchess agencies. Our current network in Dutchess includes 35 recipients, 58 donors, and 117 volunteers. The donors in Dutchess County this year have already donated over 58,000 pounds. And as I mentioned, some of those, not all the statistics of what we do is captured in ChowMatch. So just to provide some additional detail, over 70,000 pounds of dairy were purchased from Ronnybrook and Hudson Valley Fresh, and then distributed to Dutchess and other counties in 2020 in response to COVID. And I just wanted to wrap it up by really hitting home the point that Feed HV is only as successful as it is because of our partners. We absolutely could not exist without them. Everything is a team effort, a lot of collaboration, and it takes a lot of helping hands and good hearts to make this happen. And there's plenty of them here right now on this call. In addition to that, we have other partners listed here. So yeah, glad to be here.
Thank you, Brianna. So Feed HV, as Brianna said, is we're working in multiple counties. Our tagline is the Community Food Network. And as Brianna explained, it's really important for us to have relationships beyond what just ChowMatch does. And it's critical, and we are happy that we are able to do that. And I don't know if Brianna had mentioned that almost 50% of the food that we are able to rescue is farm fresh produce, and that we believe makes quite a bit of difference. I'd also say that we sort of fill a gap. We use volunteers to move the food, and so we're looking at amounts that fit into a volunteer's vehicle. So we're not the food bank, we're not moving a ton of food as Leanna's organization is. But we are trying to capture the smaller amounts that would go to waste if we weren't able to assist. So again, thank you. Brianna, next up is my good friend, Sarah Salem. Sarah is with Dutchess Outreach. Sarah can probably give us a dissertation on all of this. I don't know of anyone perhaps more knowledgeable than Sarah in this field. So thank you, Sarah, for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. And I did prepare a couple slides. I don't know if I can share my screen or if somebody has to allow me to do that. Oh, looks like I can. Great. just pop that up there. Can everyone see that? I'm assuming yes. The perennial question of 2021. Thank you again, everyone. My name is Sarah Salem, and I am the Director of Development and Strategic Initiatives with Dutchess Outreach. As was mentioned, Dutchess Outreach has been here in Dutchess County providing food access programming for 47 years, so almost 50 years. And we exist to stabilize community food security, increase food sovereignty, increase advocacy, and provide emergency relief by offering a range of vital programs for folks who are in need of them in Dutchess County in order to ensure food security so that folks have access to safe, nutritious, culturally appropriate, and sustainably grown foods at all times across our community, regardless of where they live or their income. We do this in a number of different ways. We have an emergency food pantry that provides free groceries to folks. We recently transitioned this program to a choice-driven model. So our guests come in, shop the shelves, they select exactly what they want to take home for themselves, for their families. And a lot of the times, thanks to our partners in farms across the region, they're able to select local foods. And this program is, as it stood prior, was critically needed. As it stands now, we're seeing an average a month of more than 600 households come through our doors, which is unprecedented even for us in the last 47 years that we've existed. One of our other long-standing programs is the Lunchbox. It's a community meal program. And so in that program, we prepare from scratch hot meals for lunch, for dinner, and for after school. And we also provide meals to our emergency housing shelter, the Pods, that is currently located at the Dutchess County Jail. And through that program, on average, we are providing around 300 hot meals. Again, a lot of the ingredients sourced from local farms when we're able, a lot donated by local community members. And we try and ensure nutritional quality and cultural relevancy to those meals that are coming out of that program as well. One of our newer programs is the Dutchess Outreach Fresh Market. This is a unique program to our organization. We are managing a farmer's market, and so we are accepting revenue through the program, however, also increasing the availability of local foods. So on this market, all you will find are foods from local Hudson Valley farms, from local producers, fruits, vegetables, coffee, beans, grain, other kinds of grains, breads, you name it, you can find it on the mobile market. And this market is critical and beneficial to the city of Poughkeepsie in that is one of the only access points to these local foods. The food on the market is priced at cost, so it's incredibly affordable. And it really, what it does is help to offer a more equitable access point to local foods for members of the community. And for members of the community who have the means, it offers them an opportunity to support the organization and to get the fresh food, local food that they need to take home. So it brings all of our community members together in one place to shop for their food. Another newer program that we do in partnership with the Regional Food Bank is the Farm Stand. And this program is a once monthly mass distribution of fresh foods that we're able to give out thanks to the food that the Regional Food Bank delivers to us. And we initiate this program every third Friday of the month. And we see around 200 people on average, and we give out from 5,000 to 10,000 pounds of food, depending on what's in stock. And those are the base of our food access programs. We also provide emergency relief in the way of grants to prevent utility termination, to provide prescription drugs, and to help with rent payments as that need continues to increase. In addition to providing advocacy through our case management process and providing referral to our partner organizations, which there are many throughout Dutchess County. So if we can't help somebody, we want to make sure that they know exactly what they need to do, exactly where they need to go to get the help that they need. This past year alone, we were able to provide more than 124,000 meals throughout Dutchess County. And this counts the meals that are coming out of our lunchbox. This counts the meals that we're able to provide through our pantry, and the increased number of pantry and groceries we were able to provide through our hub distribution model, which is a grocery delivery model. Through the pandemic, a lot of folks couldn't leave their home, however, they needed groceries. And in partnership with Dutchess County and other organizations, we were able to bring the food to them. And so we're continuing that effort, knowing that folks are still, tied to a tight schedule and can't always make it to our facility. Of that 124,000 meals, 35,000 pounds were fresh foods, fresh local foods from our local farming partners. You see some of them up on this graphic. And thanks to Nourish New York, we were able to purchase a lot of fresh foods ourselves. Thanks to initiatives like Glenwood's Food Sovereignty Fund, we were also able to contract with local farmers and get that food into the pantry and actually be able to choose what food we were bringing in. So again, test our guests to see what they wanted to eat and give them that choice, which again addresses our initiative and efforts to contribute to greater food sovereignty throughout the community. So I want to talk a little bit, I know I'm timing myself so I don't go over my 5 minutes, but I did want to talk a little bit about addressing the longstanding needs of our community after, as we emerge out of the pandemic, barring any other variants, and a real systemic change that we could initiate as we are at Dutchess Outreach. And I know other organizations are following what we've experienced through the pandemic. And that is, as we know, food insecurity spiked incredibly through the pandemic, and that was due to unemployment and financial hardship. And with that came increased food prices, an issue that continues to persist as our supply chain attempts to recover, as well as difficulty relying on community support and other difficulties that came through the pandemic. One of the things that we noticed most was the increase of negative health outcomes that we were experiencing, or our clients, our guests were experiencing, either directly or indirectly related to COVID-19. And while the pandemic did throw a lot of people into food insecurity for the very first time, we saw ourselves more than 1,000 new households come through our doors. A lot of folks ended up being in more severe hardship. So the issue persisted and worsened for a lot of people, specifically in the Black and Brown community. And so, what that means is that these longstanding disparities have not only persisted, but worsened, and it further demonstrates their linkages to the systemic issues of poverty and inconsistent access to local, healthy, and affordable foods and systemic racism. So here in Dutchess County, the instance of food security, according to statistics from Feeding America, nearly doubled through the pandemic. And Dutchess Outreach is located in the city of Poughkeepsie, which is a beautiful, diverse community that was barely just recovering from the last financial crisis of 2008, now facing another tumble into crisis, however, uniquely positioned to bounce back. That is, if our community, if organizations like Dutchess Outreach, like the organizations on this call, and the community at large come together to consider more long-standing solutions, solutions that will not only allow us to recover, but will allow us to create the conditions to a more equitable future. And that includes in the farm and the food system, with policies that give us the tools that we need to dismantle the systemic inequities that exist. And so I wanted to frame, what the future of Dutchess Outreach and food access looks like for us. We're happy to offer an immediate solution to act as a crisis intervention. However, what we saw through the pandemic was so unique and demonstrated to us that our community needs us to do more. And so we're ready for that transformation and for a more equitable path to a food access solution that maintains dignity and that restores justice. So that's where we're headed. And I know Marianne touched on the dimensions and the components of community food security. And really what we're trying to do is stabilize that in community by, not just providing food access, that's one of the pockets, but also in being able to increase food availability across the board. So we're doing that through our traditional programming in the food pantry by offering more choice into sourcing more foods from local farms, through the market. And we're generally, putting a focus on getting the best quality food through our doors, understanding that a lot more people than before need to kind of, find themselves in the position where they need to use the pantry or they need to use the lunchbox and they need access to more affordable food through the fresh market. Additionally, we are now more, aware of this term food sovereignty, ensuring and giving people the choice over their food, the power over what they're bringing home. If they have any kind of health ailment. So when they walk through the door, if they're diabetic, they can choose exactly what their doctor prescribed. Or if they're coming from, a culture that they're used to eating certain foods, they don't have to walk home with a bag that's handed to them, knowing that they're not going to be able to know how to prepare any of that food, or their family won't eat it. And so we're really making the effort with future plans, future visionings to fill a need that exists in the community in order to offer this path toward equity, understanding that we hold the power, the communities hold the power, and we can meet the needs of the many, not just a few, in the way that we're able to operate if we're kind of, casting our vision out to really address the issues that were more apparent through the pandemic. So I'm really excited about the work that we're engaged in. I have a great team. Some of them are on this call tonight. I know our executive director, Renee Flay, is on the call, and as well as our market manager, Stacy Deirdring. And we're really trying to ensure that our work is grounded in the voice of the community. So thank you, everyone. Be sure to hop on our website, dutchessoutreach.org, and find us on Facebook and Instagram at Dutchess Outreach. So I will stop sharing. I hope I didn't go too far over 5 minutes. And I'm really excited to be here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Sarah touched on many items and issues and conversations that we are hearing from different counties in the Hudson Valley. I was fortunate enough to be moderating a group down in Sullivan County on Monday, and I would say they're a little behind where I feel like this group is at, but they are coming on strong, and they were looking at many of those dimensions that we talked about earlier. So thank you, Sarah, providing that sort of direction and vision for Dutchess Outreach, where you guys are headed. That's fantastic. So next up, we have Jordan Schmidt. I believe Jordan also has some slides. Jordan's from the Northeast Community Center, working in the rural areas of our county.
Yes, hold on just a second. I'm going to do.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Jordan Schmidt. I am the food program director at the Northeast Community Center, NECC, and we're up in the northeastern corner of Dutchess County. So we're serving the towns of Pine Plains, Dover Plains, Wassaic, Amenia, Millerton, and Northeast. And NECC has been around since 1988, so about 30 years, and really provides a service hub for rural residents because there's no public transportation in our corner of the county, which is a huge issue for food security, among other things. And so rather than having people have to go all the way to the social service office in Poughkeepsie, we offer case management, we offer a dial-a-ride transportation program, community programs. We run a lot of youth programming through the Weebatuck School District. And then we also provide a number of different food programs to people of all ages in Northeastern Dutchess. Our food programs right now include a bi-monthly food and supply pantry run out of the NECC itself. We also, for the last 5 or 6 years, have run a fresh food pantry program where we support some of the smaller, mostly church-based or volunteer-run food pantries in our area by providing fresh produce, milk, and eggs at the time of service, which helps to address some of the cold storage issues that can come along with fresh food access. We run the summer food service program, so free breakfast and lunch for the Weebatuck School District. And we really do work on incorporating a lot of fresh food. I think it's kind of a pilot for us for meal programs that can utilize local food. So we can talk about that a little bit more. We run the school garden at Weebatuck, as well as a community garden at the community center itself. And then we have a summer program that focuses on paid internships for teenagers working in farming, food, community garden, cooking, food preparation, all kinds of food system and food access related work. So that's most of the background for NECC. Oops, I can actually stop sharing, go to that later.
You know, Jordan, you didn't have to cut yours short because Sarah went over, just so you
I
know.
I was like, oh my gosh. No, it's okay. We can add more later.
No, it's all good. Great. That's great. And last but not least, we have Jung Il Sumagari, who is from Red Hook Responds. I am pleased to say that I am a board member of Red Hook Responds, and I, truly believe this organization is doing great work, not only in food access, but in other areas as well. Jung Il, you want to tell us what you've been up to?
Yes, if I could also share my, oh wait, maybe it won't let me share it. All right, never mind. Okay, so I'm not gonna share. Sorry, everybody. My name is Jung Il Sumagari. As Marianne said, I'm from Red Hook Responds, somewhat newly appointed executive director, took over in August this year. And Red Hook Responds, among many things, is helping to address food access in Red Hook school districts as well as Rhinebeck. But our learning of so many ways in which we can connect with other organizations like NECC and Dutchess Outreach through Feed HV and such to become a part of the bigger picture. One of the major programs in Red Hook Responds is our Red Hook Eats program, which enabled us to be become an emergency food rescue agency or emergency food agency with the regional food bank, so that we can provide fresh meals to those in need. That means that we are one of, I believe, 3 soup kitchens in the area in Dutchess County that provides these meals on a daily basis. And we also have a unique delivery system that helps to get meals to folks who are in need of them on a regular basis, as well as folks who maybe are homebound or choosing not to be out in the community. In this past 5 months, for example, we've served over 350 fresh meals on a monthly basis, and then around 250 frozen meals that were freshly made by our volunteers. So aside from myself, we are 100% volunteer run, from shift leaders to drivers to assembly folks. Yeah, and I think that that's all I want to say right now about what Red Hook Responds is doing in terms of food accessibility and sustainability in Dutchess County.
Thank you, Jung Il. Red Hook Response started as a COVID response, and it was started by Dan Bud. And let me turn my video back on. Right, Jung Il, you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah, Red Hook Responds was started as a response to the pandemic. One of the local business owners and chef, Dan Bud, saw the need, and as a chef wanted to help address that part within our community. And after this, these first year and a half, we decided that we want, of course, that there's this need, and there's a place for Red Hook Responds within this community. And there's definitely things that we can continue to provide. So we are awaiting our 501c3 so that we can continue this wonderful work along with everybody else.
Great, thank you. We're gonna jump into some questions now.
I was just gonna say, can we go ahead and jump, because we had the one question about what great work that you all are doing, and how have any of your organizations present created or received a heat map of where hunger is greatest in the Hudson Valley or in Dutchess County, and where are they, where the food insecure located?
Anybody want to touch on that? I'm sure you all want to touch on that a little bit.
I can start if that's okay. I know that, first of all, thank you, Dee. I mean, so that's a great idea. I don't know if there's necessarily a heat map that kind of presents it graphically in that way, but I know that we do have statistics and data from each community that demonstrate food insecurity. And unfortunately, a lot of that. So, for instance, for the city of Poughkeepsie, over 10 years ago now, there was a food insecurity assessment done, or a food security assessment, and that tested through a means of surveying the community to gain statistically significant data to demonstrate the percentage of folks in the city of Poughkeepsie that are food insecure. Beyond those kinds of surveying efforts, the granular data is kind of left up to the USDA. And I know that Feeding America tends to, and through the pandemic, they actually released to anyone who requested it, more granular data per county on food insecurity and what those numbers look like as we were kind of experiencing a run on pantries and meal programs, and on and on. However, I don't believe that there is anything like what you're saying, a heat map of sorts. So that's a great, we could start to tackle that. Really, the need for surveying. So for instance, our survey in the city of Poughkeepsie is more than 10 years old. And I know other organizations are currently conducting surveys of themselves, but it does take a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of hands. And then it takes a lot of resources in order to do that. So I think that if there is a need to kind of dedicate funds to conduct more thorough and updated surveys for food insecurity. And in that, there could be then more mapping of that data, which I know, recently has been more of a trend. We do have maps of where food access organizations exist, where farms exist. So it would make a lot of sense to map and present that graphically where, those who are food insecure exist.
Sarah, do you think it's, and maybe throw this out to some of our rural areas too. I think people traditionally think that most people with food insecurity are living in urban areas. But I think we've all learned that's perhaps not the case. Jordan, I don't know if you perhaps have any statistics that you could share about your area.
Yeah, I don't have any
sense of what's happening.
I don't have any statistics offhand, although I thought one of the questions that we had been prompted to consider was about kind of some of the differences between rural and more urban food insecurity. And I think that is something thinking about not only where people are, but kind of like what are the differences in need and quality and situation that drive food insecurity. Even within one county like Dutchess County, they really vary. So yeah, I think some of the issues in the more rural parts where we're working are that, where our stretch of the service area that NACC serves, some of the towns are classified as low income, some are classified as low vehicle access, and most, we have one full service grocery store in the 3-town stretch from Northeast Millerton to Dover Plains. So many of our residents are further than 10 miles from a grocery store. And we have a lot of vehicle access issues and no public transportation. So that can be a really different kind of challenge than some of the challenges that you might have in the denser areas. So that's definitely one of the things that we're facing. The towns that we're serving are below, the median income is below 80% of the Dutchess median, and there's a low vehicle access issue, and there's a low grocery store, low number of grocery stores in the area.
Sorry about that. Everyone wants us to open a store in Millerton.
Yeah, I know.
That would be great, Mark. What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
Well, we're getting there. But I just wanted to just comment on one thing, since I have all of you people here who are all doing a fantastic job and a really incredible job, all the meals that are provided. I just wanted to put in a little bit of information about Farm Bureau. We work with public policy. So in order for farmers to produce this food, we need public policy to be on our side. It's particularly a problem with labor right now. So I know we have two congressmen, Congressman Delgado and we have Congressman Maloney, that are both on the House Agriculture Committee, and which is pretty unusual for two congressmen from Dutchess County to be both on the House Ag Committee. So communicate with them and tell them how important it is for us to get a secure labor force in order to produce the food that we need. You know, that's one of the issues, but there's a lot of public policy issues that need, you know, the farmers need help with, and that's one of the main ones. So just think about keeping in touch with your policymakers and looking at policy that will benefit farmers to help them provide the food. Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mark. Mark, you want to just give a brief, intro on who you are? Maybe some folks don't know you out there.
Okay, I'm Mark Adams. I'm in charge of Adams Greenhouses. We provide all the starter plants for Adams Fairacre Farms, and I'm on the board of directors of New York's Dutchess Putnam Westchester Farm Bureau, and I'm also on a few other boards. People don't think I work anymore. So you know, I'm trying to make sure that that farmers get the help they need to produce the food that we so desperately need.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Labor is certainly an issue for farming and a number of other industries, as we've seen as this pandemic is sort of dragged on. To bring it back down to the farm, maybe, Leanna, do you want to talk about the Nourish New York program?
Sure. Main way we work with farms at the food bank is that we will either get donations of either fresh produce, any dairy products, or even meats, and we'll be able to distribute those to all of our agencies. The Nourish New York funds we receive, my director up in Regional Food Bank is actually the one who does all the purchasing, so I don't have exactly all the details, but so we've been purchasing a bunch of produce, a lot of dairy like cottage cheese, milk, yogurt, eggs. We purchased like apples, we got pears recently, all that. And we even have purchased, I think last year, from chickens from Sky High Farm in Pine Plains, and we get weekly purchases from Hudson Valley Fresh. We get milk from them weekly. I don't have exactly the numbers and everything that we've done. I couldn't get those, but we try to purchase from anyone in the Hudson Valley we can. So if anyone has any relationships they want to build or anything, I can drop Joanne Dwyer's email and contact information in the chat, and you can reach out to her and she'll handle all the Nourish New York funds and purchasing. But definitely looking for more partnerships. So
Thank you. Thank you. I think that, the general, the concept behind the Nourish program is, and I think it's important, is that the state was providing the funding directly to the farms so that the farms could provide food to these food access agencies. And I know some on this call have taken advantage of that. Sarah mentioned it. I'm not sure, Jordan, if you were doing that, or Jamie, if you've been able to do that, but maybe we could comment on that a little bit, because farmers are very generous people. They do donate, but it's great if we could also support them, as Sarah mentioned, from the farmer all the way to the person eating it. If we could find ways to make that a smoother function in our system. Anybody want to comment on Nourish?
I mean, I can say that it's been an incredible support to our food pantry, absolutely, at NECC. It's really exciting to be able to get fresh New York State food directly from the food bank. It makes we really do try to prioritize fresh and frozen and high nutrient foods at our food pantry. And the Nourish New York program has made that affordable and possible for us. And I think it's a really wonderful complement to, we're also partners for the Food Sovereignty Fund from Glenwood this year, and the combination of those things, as well as a couple of other fresh food grants that we've had, have really supported us in being able to have, donated food is maybe an essential part of working with, maximizing local production and also managing our waste stream with in the food system. But it's also really challenging to work with from a food access program perspective, because it's really unpredictable and often sort of at the end of its shelf life as well. And there's a whole bunch of different variables that make working with gleaned food or working with donated food a little bit challenging, also worthy to be working on. But being able to have a contract where you're ordering directly from a farm and paying fair price, or to know that the food is going to show up in the food bank order form, is really makes having a reliable source of fresh local food at your food access program a possibility, which is, we've gotten nothing but super positive feedback from our participant base for having those foods more regularly in our food programs.
And if I'm correct, the state started it out of the pandemic, and they had not been doing something like this prior. And we are all hoping they continue to do this good work.
Yes, definitely.
I'm gonna let Sarah talk for a little bit, and then I'm gonna put my other good friend Megan Larmer on the spot, maybe to talk a little bit about the Glenwood Food Sovereignty Fund.
Sure. Yeah, I want to just emphasize everything that Jordan just said, and also share that the Nourish New York is just codified. The governor signed the bill, so it will continue. And really, for our organization, because of the things that Jordan mentioned, it's been, I don't want to put out a buzzword, but it's been transformational for us to be able to rely on a consistency and order the food that our guests actually want to take home and eat. So between, Nourish New York and Glenwood Food Sovereignty Fund, the other transformational piece is these relationships that didn't really exist before. And so we're helping to build relationships between food access organizations and farmers. And it seems like a no-brainer. It seems like they should have been talking to each other already. But unless you had a program that initiated that, so for us, we had the Fresh Market, but we could still grow our partnership and our relationships with local farms. Those relationships weren't necessarily as strong as they could have been. And so now, thanks to these initiatives, they are, and it really transforms the way that food moves through our communities. And I think one of the other benefits, it's kind of put a spotlight on some of the other needs of food access organizations that weren't necessarily as prominent. So for instance, yes, we love taking in fresh food. It's an incredible priority for us. However, we don't always have the capacity to store it. We don't have the cold storage capacity. We can't always process it so that it gets its best use, so that we're not wasting it. So with the now codification of this in the New York State budget and more programs coming in, I think most advocates are lobbying for more money to be invested to ensure that the farmers have what they need to produce the food and deliver the food, and the food access partners have what they need to take in the food. So that we're not just contributing to the waste stream, and we're able to take advantage of this incredible and genius program.
Thank you, Sarah. I see we got a couple more questions, and I'm going to jump. Megan, are you willing to on this?
Sure. Thanks, Marianne. Yeah, what a great panel of folks. So nice to see some friendly faces and to hear more detail about some of the work you're doing. So I guess I can just talk quickly about Glenwood's Food Sovereignty Fund, which we really do see as complementing the incredible work of Nourish New York. So that project is also taking the premise that farmers do need to be paid for the food that they produce. Glenwood works with quite a lot of new entrant farmers and small scale farmers. And through the Food Sovereignty Fund, we wanted to recognize that the communities most impacted by food insecurity are also often the same communities that face the most barriers to beginning and operating a successful farm business. So the Food Sovereignty Fund in its most basic format raises money to advance contract farms that are centering the leadership of historically marginalized communities, LGBTQ+, Black, Indigenous, people of color, and women. And you know, inspired by that CSA model, we contract them in advance and then support those farms in partnership with a community level food access project. This may be a well-established core partner like NECC or like Dutchess Outreach, or it may be a very small community-led mutual aid effort. For example, the Ulster Immigrant Defense Network, you know, out in Ulster, or the Kingston Emergency Food Collaborative. So we've been able to work in 2021 with 17 farms and 15 community food distribution organizations. And the awarding of those contracts also is, as the whole design is really reliant on our accountability council members, all of whom are people who have an expertise in agriculture and in food insecurity. So every year we're trying to get a little closer to the aspirational name of the project and really build sovereignty into our food system, to recognize that food is a right, that people have that they deserve to be able to participate in how their food is produced, to have the food that they need to thrive, and to have the food that they wish to enjoy to express their unique cultural selves in the world. So we're really, really thrilled with the program. We are hoping and planning in 2022 to build upon the technical assistance aspects of it, to really help farms and these food access partners to know each other better and to build that network and work within each other's needs. You know, they're not the same, what a food access partner needs and what a farm needs to operate a business always, but there's lots of translation that can be done, and so much heart from these farmers and these food access professionals. It's a real privilege to get to work with them, and a privilege to be here with all of you. Thanks, Marianne.
Thank you, Megan. Appreciate you, you know, jumping in like that, unprepared. I just threw it right at you. Well done. Jennifer Fimble, did that cover your food sovereignty question?
I believe it has.
Excellent, excellent.
I just wanted the definition so that people, because I think there's a lot of people like myself that, you know, I'm in a whole different realm with agriculture, working with farmers, that, you know, it was just a term that I had not heard on a regular basis. So I just wanted clarification for everybody else.
Great. Jen, do we have any questions you want to throw at us?
So there is one. So D. Russo saying, I am seeing a wasted gleaning up. Am I seeing a wasted gleaning opportunity as a result of lack of labor because of apples being left on trees? Because right now, this time of year, apples are really mushy when after they've been frozen and then thawed and then frozen again. You know, is it communications? It's the orchard north of Cornucopia on the left side. Seems like a lot of apples. I have apples left on my trees. You know, you just I can't get to mine. My trees haven't been properly.
Yeah, Jen, I also reached out directly to answer that a little bit. Long Table Harvest is who we would reach out to in this case. For example, we had a volunteer tell us about it, a Dutchess County or a Columbia County folks. I mean, there's other gleaners too. But I think that they might be a good way to go. I think it is a lack of communication, because I think it's hard to know that there are like professional gleaners, and it's kind of like they're professionals because they're insured, and that takes a lot of fear out of it for farmers and landowners. And I think it is probably more of a lack of communication than a lack of a willingness for people to go out. But I did respond so that we could answer that question.
Thank you, Brianna.
I think
Go ahead,
that really it. I think everything else has been addressed. How is waste measured in your programs? Do you weigh the produce that just doesn't get picked up and gets composted?
Brianna, you want to talk about that a little bit for Feed HV?
Yeah, so for the chow match statistics, for the food runs, that's going to be dependent on the donor, and then volunteers for kind of cross-checking that. They'll leave notes if there was a variation in the amount. For the gleaning, the folks like Beth at Ulster Court, I mean, like when I mean professionals, they come with a scale and they report statistics back to us, same as Long Table Harvest did the same for us, just so we could kind of have an idea of how we were helping the community. So that was literally weighed, but I'm not sure that I totally understand the question. So if that didn't answer it, I'm happy to elaborate.
Anybody else have something they want to say about collecting?
I wish Styles were here because I know that CCE Orange, along with a number of Orange County organizations, are piloting a food waste audit for organizations, knowing that we don't really have much capacity to track on what food we're either composting or, unfortunately, if we have to, sending to the incinerator, or the landfill. So we track what food we move through our market into the food pantry and the lunchbox if it doesn't sell. However, we don't have a great system set up yet of being able to conduct a food waste audit on our own. But again, I might reach out to Styles Najek of CCE Orange, because I know that there were discussions among them and other organizations in Newburgh and in Orange County about, again, piloting this kind of measurement or metrics tool so that we can get an idea of how food is moving through the community and out of our doors, and if we're wasting, how much we're wasting.
And so a clarification on the question, I meant waste at the church sites where the food isn't picked up. So
I mean, if you're talking about food pantries more specifically, or food pantries and meal programs, they're not always church sites, but that type of moment in the chain, I think it is, as Sarah's saying, it's really challenging organizationally. A lot of times those programs are volunteer staffed, and there hasn't been necessarily a culture of tracking that food waste historically. So I think the idea of developing an audit is it's exciting. I think also when you're working at, like, especially with donations, you're often kind of one step before the compost in these programs in some ways. And so I think it's complicated to track food moving through the food supply, but it's a really worthy effort, and one in which I think when we're thinking about a systems approach, this, like, at our food pantry, we work, one of the ways we work with farmers is as suppliers, but we also work with farmers as compost facilities, in that we have, there are pigs that eat our food pantry waste, or the food that's kind of going by or has gone by or hasn't been picked up by our participants. Those some of those foods get recycled by farms in the area, and that's been a collaboration and a relationship building process as well. So I think that kind of systems-based perspective is really important, looking at how is food moving through our food supply, and what does waste look like.
I just wanted to add in on the flip side, just to highlight what Brianna was sharing before, was really a lot of data on food that got rescued from being wasted. And so if we think about if the Feed HV program was not happening, all of that food would have been wasted. And because of all of these partnerships that have built up, so much food gets to actually go to people. And then, some of it probably does end up getting tossed if it deteriorates, and some of it does go to the pigs or does get composted, but so much of it actually gets to people and is providing really important nourishment. And a lot of it is still in pretty good quality, and some is in excellent quality.
Thank you, Jamie. One of the ways that that Feed HV can help divert some of that waste. And I'm going to turn to Jung-il and maybe Jordan, talk a little bit about, the relationship that you guys have when there's been some extra food. I believe it was some turkeys last year, if I'm remembering correctly, and Brianna, maybe you can help me out here. How your organization sort of worked together to make sure that that food was usable and got placed.
Yeah, I mean, this also speaks to one of the issues, and people should jump in here because I know lots of the folks on this call have been thinking about this. I think Salem was talking about it before as well, but this need for food processing as a way that we also avoid food waste and make the most out of our local food system and the locally available foods. And I think there's a number of reasons why food processing is really important, both on the supply end and on the consumer end. But we, yes, last Thanksgiving, we got there, I think especially because of people changing their plans kind of last minute because of the pandemic, we ended up getting at NECC a whole bunch of unexpected turkey donations, full-size turkey donations that we hadn't planned for in our food pantry and that were last minute. And so I reached out to Brianna at Feed HV, and we ended up collaborating with Red Hook Responds in order to make meals out of those turkeys. And it really happened. It was extremely, it was a very quick turnaround. And I really appreciated the ability to know that we had an excess of some really usable food coming in that we weren't going to be able to process at our organization, and then to collaborate through Feed HV to Red Hook Responds to be able to make soups and meals. And then our organization got some of that food back in order to do some meal delivery to our clients. So it was a really wonderful collaboration.
Thanks for elaborating, Jordan. I actually, although I've been a volunteer since its inception, I wasn't around during that specific exchange, but we have taken the opportunities to process things ourselves because we are working out of right now the Elks Lodge here in Red Hook, because it's a location that is conveniently placed geographically speaking, but then also has a kitchen and is food safety regulated. So we are able to, when we have the chefs who are volunteers for us, and then I think last year at that time, we also had some chefs that we were able to stipend to support some of the processing that happens. But yes, it is a bit of a process to getting things that might otherwise go to waste to be able to be used, especially when they're fresh or meat items that need to be prepared.
Thank you. Thank you. Any of our other speakers want to touch on some of the collaborations that you've had, that you have fostered and have been meaningful?
I can share a little bit about the community fridge that we have in Beacon. It's really a great collaboration between 3 organizations. And so it's Fairground along with Binnacle Books and Beacon for Black Lives, who all collaborate to keep it full and well cared for. And then there's also the tiny food pantry that is at the same site. And so it's really great to be able to have the partnership with the bookstore as well as Beacon for Black Lives to support that and have it be just a connection between multiple organizations in the same town working together. So that's one that I wanted to highlight. Another partner that has been really valuable to Fairground has actually been working with Second Chance Foods, which has been able to take so much of the produce we were talking about recently and transform it into gorgeous, delicious, nutritious meals that can get distributed out to community members in the region that we are covering. So I just wanted to give a quick highlight of some of those partnerships.
Thank you, Jamie. Yeah, Second Chance Foods, although not in Dutchess, I think serves Dutchess pretty well. So I just want to give a shout out to them. They are in Putnam. They do processing, and that does extend the life of some of these foods that would otherwise, go to waste. Anybody else want to share some interesting collaborations you've done? Go.
Yeah, if it's okay, this is more of a recent collaboration, but the Red Hook Community Center and Red Hook Responds in developing our relationship together are discussing a needs assessment, which Sarah was talking about earlier. And many people, are noting that the needs that have been assessed are outdated and significantly changed with the pandemic. So that's one collaborative effort that we're putting together, hoping that we might be able to get more people within our small area, because of funding, of course, to see how, for example, the Red Hook Community Center and Red Hook Response could move forward in supporting the community. But then another kind of pilot program that's sort of being developed between also Red Hook Responds and the community center is to have, because a lot of community members who would prefer anonymity but are going to the community center for a variety of needs to be met. We are hoping to be able to build a relationship with them that allows them to also go into our storage of a local food exchange that Red Hook Response has put together, where a lot of these items that are donated can be redistributed out to pantries or other agencies like the community center, so that they can become accessible to individuals. I don't know if I was clear on that, but we're piloting a program where we can help individual families that are seeking alternative resources other than food pantries and food agencies to receive support.
Thank you, Jamil. Anybody else have anything to share before we move on to our last and most critical question? Leah, you're up.
I was just going to say just some things that we do in Dutchess County. We have, like Sarah mentioned earlier, we have a farm stand with Dutchess Outreach. So we'll send them fresh produce and any dairy products that we may have in the inventory for that week. We also have, I think, about 9 backpack programs. So different schools throughout Dutchess County. We have a backpack coordinator who will arrange deliveries or pickups from these agencies of different meals for children on the weekends, because a lot of school programs, they'll provide kids with breakfast and lunch mostly. And then when the weekend comes, they may not have access to these types of meals. So our coordinator will provide backpacks on like a Friday or a Thursday for the weekend, which will have like easy to make meals. So like cereal, granola bars, like macaroni and cheese, some bread, peanut butter and jelly. So these children can still have access to their breakfast and lunch. We also have senior programs. So we have a few sites, I think in Wappinger Falls and Beacon, where another one of our coordinators will deliver produce and pastas, rices, any light things to senior living centers. So they kind of come down into like a community room and they kind of do like a little shopping, get some groceries, and it's really nice for them, I think, to kind of get out and all come together and be able to get and pick out what kind of food they like. But those are just some things that we collaborate on and have some programs we have going on in our counties.
Thank you for sharing that. All right, so we've got a few more minutes before we're gonna, I think address some more questions and talk about the Hudson Valley Food System Coalition. But I wanted to give each organization an opportunity to talk about what their 3 biggest needs are. And I also wanted to say these folks have worked really hard you know, prior to the pandemic, but then, you know, an overload and overdrive during the pandemic. So I just want to acknowledge that work and let everyone know, you know, we really appreciate everything that you all have done and continue to do and continue to evolve on this thinking of what food security means and how we address it. Anybody want to start? 3 biggest needs? Yep, there you go. Thank you.
I'll start. Just within our organization lately, with, like you said, like the pandemic and everything, 3 biggest things we're kind of in need of right now are employees. So warehouse workers and truck drivers, we're running pretty low on. And then if someone happens to have a call out, it kind of leaves us in a pickle with trying to pick up everything and deliver to all of our different organizations and sites. So definitely some more employees. We also are working on moving towards a bigger facility. So we were looking in land in Montgomery, so we can build a bigger place for more storage for our cooler and freezer, because those are a little tight lately. It also is going to be easier access for our trucks and for our agencies who come to pick up at our facility. It'll be closer to one of the throughways or highways. And I think the third thing, just be more nutritious foods access to, because that's what we want to provide for people, is more healthy, nutritious foods. So I guess just more access to more produce and dairy and anything else. I guess that's it for us.
Thank you, Leanna. Jamie, you want to share 3 biggest needs?
I can go.
Oh, Sarah's going.
Oh, did you call on someone?
I was trying to get Jamie, but that's okay. Jamie can go after you, Sarah. Go for it.
Okay, sorry, Jamie. Well, I was just going to say, for Dutchess Outreach, it's infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure. And, you know, we're a growing organization. We're one of the largest providers of food access in, you know, Dutchess County and, you know, the Mid-Hudson region. And we, you know, unfortunately see ourselves outgrowing or the need outgrowing our capacity. And so beyond hard infrastructure, cold storage, processing equipment, we need, you know, the staff capacity in order to, you know, grow to meet that need and the changing needs of the community. So, you know, with that, we're looking to increase our revenue in order to not only be able to, you know, invest in these kinds of infrastructure improvements, but also to invest in our team and our staff. We're a tiny organization of 12. And the only way we're able to do what we do is thanks to the thousands of volunteers that come through our door each and every year. On average, a month, we have more than 200 volunteers that work through all of our programs to help us get what we need to get done. However, as we expand to delivery into parts of Dutchess County, as we've heard the expression of need for processed meals that are packed and ready to go, and as the need for healthier foods becomes apparent to our smaller organizations that we do collaborate with, we are seeing, you know, the need for infrastructure and staff capacity continue to be driven up. And I wanted to quickly, I didn't get a chance to answer the collaboration. And one of the most unique collaborations that we were able to engage in through the pandemic was with Dutchess County government. They transitioned the entire planning department to deliver groceries for folks that were in need of food and deliver meals. And we worked with them very closely. And it was such a unique partnership. And it just worked very well because they had, you know, the skill set and the capacity to make routes and to get drivers out there. And, you know, I really just commend that Department of Dutchess County government because, you know, that then helped us, you know, kind of explore and expose the continued need for that, you know, provided. So thank you, Dutchess County Planning Department specifically.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, a great group of people at the planning department. Jamie, you ready?
Yes, sorry, I didn't hear my name before. I apologize.
That's okay.
So at Fairground, our three biggest needs are number one, more food. So fresh, frozen, shelf stable, more healthy food that we can get out to the community. So that's big on the list. Number two would be more volunteers and partnerships. So we are seeking volunteers to help with keeping the fridges and the tiny food pantries full. We do have food stored, but we do need people to pick up the food and keep those stocked on a very regular basis because they do empty out quite frequently. We also need volunteers to help with the distributions that we do at the different housing sites, and then with the big distribution we do with the Food Bank of the Hudson Valley, and then any partnerships that we can build upon to develop more collaborations to get more food out to the communities that we are serving. So if anybody is able to help out with any of those things, that would be super valuable. And then I guess the last one is a super obvious one, which is donations to support the work. And so that way we can purchase food, because we do often purchase food, and then just to support infrastructure needs and staffing and that sort of thing. I am going to just, I think this is in an info sheet, but I'm going to just share our website where you can sign up to volunteer or make a donation, and please feel free to share with anybody you think can support the work of Fairground. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Who's next? Jung-il, you want to talk?
Yeah, sure. These things were very much already said. So there might be some kind of a trend happening here. But I think that one of the biggest needs are not just volunteers, but sustainable ones that are committed to food access and food security, ones who have made volunteerism a part of their identity, a part of how they want to be in this world. And in some ways, you know, Red Hook Responds is trying to figure out how to obtain those, because while we have, as noted in our annual report on our website, we have hundreds of volunteers who have signed up. A lot of them were for specific projects or for short periods of time, with pandemic changing our schedules so often. And we only have a little under or a little over 100 volunteers who are regularly doing things for us. And right now it's meeting our needs, but I think that a lot of what is happening, a lot of what the programs that are happening within Red Hook Responds are 100% volunteer run. So sustainable volunteers is definitely a top need for us. Another need that we have, as I don't think I mentioned this, but we're in the process of receiving a mobile kitchen, so that maybe, you know, we can do future collaborations for processing and such, but also so that Red Hook Responds can have its own home, its own site. So we're in the process right now of looking for properties, and we'll be in the process of raising funds for those, for all of the needs that come along with that, like creating a concrete foundation for a flat surface, for a walk-in cooler, for a walk-in freezer, and all of that such. We've thrived off of donations and in-kind services being offered by other organizations, and we certainly hope that it will be the same when our mobile kitchen arrives. With supply chain issues, they're telling us spring 2022. And then the final is the needs assessment that I brought up earlier, that we've kind of talked about how we need a more up-to-date, a more appropriate, maybe culturally, maybe more sensitive, more food sovereignty based needs assessment for and more, just the idea where individuals get their own choices and they have their own autonomy to help themselves. We need assessments we need a new assessment for Red Hook Response in figuring out what it is specifically that we can do so that we're not overstepping any of our boundaries, but then also so that we're not missing any opportunities to be of service to the community. So those are our top 3 needs. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Brianna, you want to tell us what? Oh, I'm sorry, Jordan. Oh, Brianna, you guys are turning on and off.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be brief. It's what everybody else pretty much said, right? We need donors, either food or financial support is always needed and welcomed. We need volunteers. I appreciate what you're saying, Jung-Yo, about committed volunteers. They really go such a long way. And then, yeah, we need continued collaboration. It's so important that we continue to have these conversations, because I always learn something, and then something will come up and the connection can be made. But if I hadn't, if we hadn't been collaborating so proactively, then I wouldn't have known. So yeah, so those are the 3 things. So thanks.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, absolutely. Mine are very similar to everyone else's. We're definitely looking to grow our staff in food programs this year, especially fluent Spanish speakers are a big need for staffing at NECC, and then infrastructure, absolutely, whether that's building space, also cold storage. We're hoping to expand those, like the need for increasing choice, autonomy, having our space be more dynamic than it's been. Those are all increasingly coming up as needs for our programs. Absolutely. So similar needs across the board, sounds like.
Yes, I agree. And it is interesting that the needs are similar regardless, it seems, of the population or the geographic area, being served. I can tell you from, our perspective at HVADC, cold storage, freezer storage, these are all, critical not only to food access agencies, but also to farms. And perhaps down the road, there will be some sort of collaborative effort that there will be some shared space that each group can utilize and benefit from. I just want to say there were definitely some themes, throughout this conversation. And I love to hear all the ways that food is being distributed or provided to clients or guests, or however, whatever you all are using to describe the folks who need some food. We've got those community fridges, we've got the mobile markets, we've got folks doing drop off. I mean, it's just an incredible effort that happens and acknowledges the transportation concerns for folks. COVID, again, the fact that so many meals got delivered in so many different ways and in so many different counties. I mean, we're only hearing about one county, but this happened, up and down the Hudson Valley. So again, I want to just commend everybody for the effort that they have put into this. I think at this point, maybe Sarah, you want to talk a little bit about the Hudson Valley Food System Coalition?
Yeah, sure, I would love to.
Do I have to time you, Sarah?
You could, maybe. I mean, am I allowed to give up? I have some slides for this too, but I want to kind of keep it a loose conversation, because I know a lot of you are involved already and are partners in the coalition. But I do want to kind of highlight the work of the coalition, because it does relate to, as Marianne was saying, some of the themes that emerged today. And, it does help us kind of address those on a larger scale. and in a transdisciplinary way, which is what the coalition is. So the Hudson Valley Food Systems Coalition is a transdisciplinary coalition whose mission is to realize a more equitable and regenerative Hudson Valley food shed or food system. And we do this by connecting food production, processing, distribution, consumption, waste management, farming, and food access in order to encourage the use of our region's food resources to ensure long-term health and sustainability. We have, a number of partners, again, engaged in this work, knowing that the food system is so incredibly complex. And in order to tackle any one issue, the solution then has to be just as complex, not impossible, but there's a lot of moving parts. And we tackle it in the Food System Coalition with a systems lens. So we like to think in systems, and we like to see what leverage points as a group we can identify across the region. And so when we're talking about the Hudson Valley, we in the coalition tend to define it as the 8-county region that includes Sullivan, Ulster, Columbia, Dutchess, Putnam, Orange, and Greene, and parts of Rockland. Not Westchester, because it throws off our demographics. Just kidding. We encourage, anyone who thinks they're a part of the Hudson Valley, and also understanding, the boundaries that exist between regions when it comes to food, when it comes to pandemics, when it comes to most things, are kind of, a colonial ideal that are constructed, and we work better together when we cross over those bounds. And so by considering the leverage points in order to find ways to innovate, to disrupt, and to really systematically change the way our food system functions, and to address the economic challenges that are presented, the social challenges, the environmental challenges, and the political challenges, in order to create a system that stimulates the economy and creates jobs, and contributes to health and farm fresh food to all. So the coalition formed more than 2 years ago. And it was an organic participant-informed process. Our initial convening back in 2019 had more than 100 participants with a wait list, which is pretty incredible. People were ready to talk food systems. And so folks from all different sectors gathered together, and we came up with a list of core values at this first meeting. From there, we had a second meeting where we really tackled the systems thinking lens as it relates to food systems, where we had folks come together, get together in working groups, minding their core values, and also, identifying different objectives of the group in order to create a more clear vision, to kind of map assets and establish some goals that we could work with in order to advance some of the cause, and to think more strategically about, what it is we're gathering to do. By the third meeting, we had presentations from a woman from West Point who was figuring out how to provide emergency food security regionally with some data. And we also unveiled our working model. So, after months and months of gathering and connecting and talking, we were able to not just establish core values and objectives, but interest groups. So, groups that we thought people could more easily plug into. So some of the interest groups that we have include, processing and aggregation, farm and agriculture, which Marianne is a facilitator of, the food access interest group, which I facilitate. We have the core values interest group, which Megan Larmer facilitates. And we have the resource and waste recovery interest group. And the way that you plug in now to this initiative is by deciding how much you can or cannot participate. And, just to give you an idea of what some of the work each of the interest groups are tackling, and, meeting bi-monthly, these groups help to convene partners in a more, digestible way. And we do still hold and conduct full coalition meetings in person. However, we tend to do those quarterly, and we tend to invite a guest. And, because we're meeting on Zoom now, we're not able to really kind of dig into the work. So we do this in our interest groups. And, you know, I can't fail to mention the good work of the facilitators that we have engaged and involved in this effort. And that includes myself, Marianne Johnson, Megan Larmer of Glenwood, Sarah Brannon, who's the Associate Director for Programs at the Hudson Valley Farm Home, Styles Najek, who's the Food Security Community Liaison, CCE Orange, and Kristen McPeak, who is the Vice President of Programs for the Community Foundations of the Hudson Valley, who really took a chance on this effort when they first heard about it. And that's thanks to the work of current Ulster County Comptroller, former President of the Community Foundations, Marge Gallagher, who, when she heard of this idea, was like, yes, we're going to support you. So without the support of the Community Foundations, this effort wouldn't be possible. Without the support and the work of the facilitators, this effort would not be possible. And so just to give you an idea, this is not a full list, but we have more than 100 participating organizations who send, you know, various team members to each of the meetings that we conduct. And, you know, we did a survey over the summer to test why. We were like, why are people coming to this thing? And it turns out they saw this as an opportunity to change the Hudson Valley food system. So they saw this as a very effective vehicle for change in the food system. And they saw it as an opportunity to network with colleagues in a way that they didn't have on their day-to-day, which we took as something positive and a cause to drive this effort forward. So we're really excited about the work moving forward and our new partnerships. We're engaged in a partnership now with the CUNY Urban Food Policy Institute. They just conducted a regional food equity plan down for the east end of Long Island, and they're involved in the Food Forward plan in New York City, and they're, you know, of course, trickling up to the Hudson Valley to engage in work, and we're going to be working with them. And we're excited to continue to engage partners on Zoom through our interest group meetings, which again meet on a bi-monthly basis. And, you know, the future looks bright for the Food System Coalition. We secured funding so that we can hire a part-time coordinator and support the work of the facilitators. We're facilitating, thank you, Marianne, thank you, Megan, thank you, all the facilitators, on a volunteer basis, just for the pure love of the food system. That is something that's very unique, but is not long-standing. And so in order to continue the important work, the critical work of the coalition, and that is in, you know, further coordinating pieces of the food system and the work, the incredible work that's being done, which was demonstrated tonight, you know, it's important that we put some people power behind the effort in order to stimulate further investment in an equitable food system. So, you know, I want to give people the opportunity to ask questions about that if they have it. And I do want to pop in the website for the Food Systems Coalition into the chat. If you're interested in joining, just hit that join button. We'll send you a form. You can indicate to us which interest group you're interested in participating in. And there's a calendar of events, and you can just, you know, keep connected, if only for the network, which is very expansive at this point. And I just always appreciate the good work of, you know, what the facilitators are up to, and each participant in the network that we've been able to build together.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that. All right, so Brianna has prepared for us and the folks out there listening and watching a list of resources available to people in Dutchess County and in the broader region. Brianna, you want to throw that up on the screen?
Yeah, I think I have too many tabs open because I can't see it. So I'm just trying to close some things down so that I can share the Word document.
I know every time I try to share my screen, it's always a little scary when I see how many windows I have open.
Yeah, I appreciate your understanding. Yeah, this is it here. The link that Sarah just shared is at the bottom. Basically, we have each of the panelists' name, the organization and their position, as well as their website and a phone number to contact those organizations. There's some educational links, some studies, as well as like the Hudson Valley Food Systems Coalition. And then there's some additional related links that our panelists have shared with us. So yeah.
Thank you, Brianna. You know, one of the things we didn't on, which is probably a whole other conversation, is the upcoming New York State food waste law that's going into effect. It is really aimed at large food waste generators, but there is going to be a requirement for them to divert this food from the landfill, whether it's to be composted or donated or reused, et cetera. So that's likely to impact some of the donations folks are seeing. I think yet to be determined how that will work out. But that is something, again, that we didn't touch on, but is something is upcoming and we should all be on the lookout for. Just want to open it up to see if there are any additional questions. I also want to, again, thank Jen Fimble and Owen Rafter from the Dutchess County Agricultural Advisory Committee. Appreciate the opportunity to bring this wonderful group of folks together and have this conversation. It's an important conversation. It will be an ongoing conversation, and just appreciate everyone's time tonight.
So real quickly, I don't know if Owen, because he said he was on the phone, so I don't know if he's in front of a computer as well. But it's when we were talking about the needs assessment that should be done. Someone said that this assessment need should be a county sponsored project that can be shared and modeled for all. So just putting it out there for Owen, so he can.
No pressure, Owen. No pressure.
I know
we
that.
understand that you're on mute. He's hiding.
No, I asked to unmute. I don't know if he can or not. I can unmute him, I think.
Make
No,
him talk.
no, I know it's. No, I can only ask him. There you go. No, not gonna work. So anyway, but I will make sure that he sees that because I'm not sure how when it's recorded, if all of those notes will pop. There you go. Hi, Owen.
Okay, sorry. The
That's all right.
unmute button was being persnickety. It's an interesting concept to do that county-wide. I am unclear if there's a funding source available, obviously, that could do that, but it's something I can look into.
Thank you, Owen. As always.
You're very welcome.
How much would it cost? We have no idea how much that would cost. American Rescue Plan funds.
Yeah, I think the cost is really going to depend on the scope of work and whether it goes beyond food access, which I believe, Danielle, maybe you want to chime in here. Red Hook was looking at something beyond just food access. It was really about all sorts of human services, which I think would probably be beneficial. We probably can't just look at this in isolation, as we've seen. It's a question of, workforce development. It's a question of education, et cetera. So the cost would probably be for the county, pretty significant, but I would say very worthwhile, very worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry, Janelle. Owen is E-I-O-N, Owen, just so you know that. Owen is our Commissioner of Planning for Dutchess County. Planning.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I didn't have the context on that. And yeah, Red Hook responds in terms of the needs assessment and our collaboration with the community center. That is, we have been talking with the Dyson Foundation, who is talking about this needs assessment and funding it, but the funds are limited, of course, and the more people and the more areas that need to be assessed, the longer that it'll take. So I wonder if, sorry, I'm just reading the chat and what you said, Dee. I wish that we could have some of these people living on River Road and the other places in Red Hook and in Rhinebeck to support this effort. But it would be a huge collaboration to get it all countywide. And I think that our approach, working within a smaller organization, it will hopefully lead to more regionally specific, zip code specific, town specific needs that aren't shared necessarily across all of the cities and towns within Dutchess County, for example.
Thank you, Jamil. Anybody else with a question out there? All right, then I think we're going to call it a night. Jen, is that all right?
That's absolutely fine. I thank you all for coming, for presenting, for participating. This is a really important issue, and you guys are a powerful group of people to be speaking on this. Really powerful. So I appreciate everything you've done. Thank you very much.
Yes, they definitely made my job easy here in moderating, and big shout out to Jordan, who jumped right in. She knew she was on it before I even had to ask, so thank you. Great, well, have a good night, everyone. I'm just noticing we got a little snow-covered trees outside while we were chatting.
Oh boy.
Exciting, exciting. All right, take care.
Thank you,
Enjoy your
everybody.
holidays.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Take care,
Good
everyone.
night.
Here.
Bye-bye.